So, victims of abuse often have these fantasies about confronting the abuser with the abuse or of getting kind of like, I don't want to say revenge, but finally being able to stand up to themselves for themselves against this abuser. A lot of these ideas we are getting from media, and I wrote an article about the first one, which was called The Lie of the Great Monologue. We've all seen the movie where the person who's in the position of power under finally has that like triumphal moment. The music is crescendoing, as they're telling this person just exactly what they've done, and that person is so overwhelmed by it that they realize how wrong they've been, and then they feel remorse and stop. Um, and it's so not factual, just in general, you're not even going to be able to get out a monologue with a person like that. They're going to stop and interrupt you. Like, there is no, I have like 5 minutes to say everything that's ever been on my mind. They will interrupt you. And they have the self delulu firewall that's going to pew pew anything that will try to get in, that will, to the inner self, that will make them have to think about their identity, and that they've been a bad person. So that doesn't work. And the other thing that doesn't work is when you are trying to defend yourself against this person, with others or just directly with them, and there are other people who happen to be around. When you are the person who is the victim, it feels like a righteous thing. You feel like, I'm finally able to stand up for myself. I'm finally able to stop them from hurting me. I'm finally able to do something. And what I've noticed is that if the audience, if your third parties to the situation have not been with it from the beginning, they are coming in and they're analyzing everything from a very current perspective. So let's say you were a child victim of abuse, and now let's say now you're 40, and you've done therapy, and you've finally gotten over the ways that they harmed you and silenced you, and you've been sort of like going along with them for some decades after you've become an official adult, but you finally reach the point where you're like, no, this is wrong, and I'm not participating in it anymore, and I am not going to help them or be with them in a nursing home, or I'm not going to take care of them, or whatever it is. From your perspective, you are finally getting justice for how they've harmed you. From people outside the situation, they're looking at you like you're a grown person. You're the person with power here. You are at your physical and financial peak. And they are like vulnerable to you, and now you're mistreating a vulnerable person. From their perspective, you are now the abuser. Or I don't even want to say now the abuser, but you're the abuser. And so, you might be like, no, 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 but they abused me. And they're going to consider that to be ancient history, and not something that is a present situation. So, whenever we watch movies or read books, and there's this like, this arc of a victim to victory, where you're finally able to take action on your own behalf. And that often becomes finally when you have some kind of power. And that the only reason anyone agrees with that, with reading the story, is because they know the whole story. Whereas in reality, people only know the slice of reality that they're seeing. They may not know the whole thing. And even if they did, they don't necessarily agree because they're analyzing the situation differently. So we just have to be very aware of how the media we consume is kind of pointing us in one direction or the other. I feel like I do a lot of these videos, but it's to me, the pattern is so glaringly apparent, and I see it over and over and over again. That we're watching these movies, we're reading these books, we're listening to these songs, and the main character is triumphant, and it seems like their victim to victory arc is a good thing, yet when it happens in reality, it's so frustrating because people are not on our side, and it's like, why are they not on our side? Even if you defend yourself, people will say, well, why are you escalating the situation? Why are you giving this person any of your energy? Why are you doing any of this? You should choose not to engage, which often is a very, very good strategy. I'm not saying it's not. But what I'm saying is, most of the time in reality, we like to watch in our media these fantasy stories of the victim to victory. But in reality, people don't like that. People don't like the effort of trying to figure out who the victim is. They don't like to. They don't like the conflict of it all. Unless there are people that like just generally enjoy drama. Most people are like, I'm just trying to live my life, and this is like, you need to mind your own, like, do your own thing. Like, don't impede what I'm doing. And so, if you're a victim of abuse, it can be really off-putting to be dealing with that situation. Anyway, I just wanted to sort of put that out there. I hope this makes sense, and I'll talk to you next time.